KWT slaying.
Salama family, salama, how y'all doing today? Hope you're blessed and highly favored. So some people believe that Esau is the white man, and some people believe that Esau is a Negro or black or whatever. And I think it's a more complex situation than that. I believe that you have some Edomites who are black, but I also believe you have some Edomites who are white. And just like with today, with the Israelites losing their identity and losing their heritage, they were known as the hidden ones. So the only way to recognize the true Israelites was what? Through the curses. Or can we say the prophecies? And so as we look at what's happening in the world today, and we see the alliance of nations, and we see the move to a new world order, it becomes apparent, at least to me, that nothing has really changed over the years. So think of this for a second. You can't look at some of these things as just coincidence. So 1492, the Christians, the Catholics, persecuted the Israelites, sent us to Sao Tome and Angola, and some sent us to the, North America. Now, these were Christians, supposedly. And they enslaved the Israelites. In 1492, they say convert or die. In 1492, the Muslims enslaved the Israelites. They also said convert or die. So when we look at the prophecies, there's things there, if we look close enough, that we have to align with what the scriptures tell us. Now, do we have a full understanding of everything? I would say no, but as someone just posted, I'm going to talk about Psalm 83. I'm not going to read the whole thing. And Yahuwah, Yahuwah, our Elohim, let's just say our Elohim, do not remain silent. Do not turn a deaf ear. Do not stand aloof, O Yah. See how your enemies growl, how your foes rear their heads. With cunning they conspire against your people. They plot against those you cherish. Come, they say, let us destroy them as a nation so that Israel's name is remembered no more. So this confederacy wanted to destroy us, right? I mean, that's what we see over and over and over throughout history. And who are the main ones trying to destroy us? The Christians and the Muslims. With one mind, they plot together. They form an alliance against you, the tents of Edom. So who's the head? The one that's named first. Edom is the head of this conspiracy. And then who? The Ishmaelites. Now we know that the quote unquote Arabs were dark-skinned folks, right? Right. We know this already. This has been proven over and over again. But now you got a mixture of people out there. You still got some dark-skinned black Arabs, but now they're viewed as palm colored. So the two main conspirators is first Edom and then Ishmael. Of Moab and the Hagarites, Byblos, Ammon, and Amalek, Philistia, can we say the Palestinians, with the people of Tyre. Even Assyria has joined them to reinforce Lot's descendants. All right, so we have this conspiracy of nations that says, we don't want you to rule. Remember, the Most High says we will live in the promised land. They want the promised land. They want the blessings. They don't want us to rule. They want to rule. Now, Yahuwah also says that he created what? He created the world for who? Our sakes. They want to control the world. And so as we look at history, we look at the stories that happened between Israel and Esau, we get to see that this alliance has maintained for thousands of years to persecute the true Israelites. Now, you have a lot of things happening today, right? You have the move for a multipolar world order and a continued, unipolar. And we know that the West is in control of the unipolar, and the so-called Middle East and the Eastern Bloc nations are trying to create a multipolar world order along with the Africans, so-called. But they don't understand, the Africans I'm talking about, that the alliance is against them to keep them from ruling. They don't want the Negroes to rule. So they decided to come together along with Satan to create a new world order. Now notice that this new world order is a totalitarian world order. China is creating their 15-minute cities with 4 million people, with CBDCs and tracking of people with cameras and digital tracking, and you can't buy, trade, or sell unless you have a good credit score. Or shall we say, as the scripture says, you won't be able to buy, trade, or sell unless you have the mark, his name, or the number of his name. Pharaoh said he has to be shrewd with us. Pharaoh said that he was going to destroy the male child. The new Pharaoh, Edom, and the one that the scriptures, in my opinion, is referencing, Rome, is dealing shrewdly with us. Now, we looked at the image of this statue, Daniel, and we see that the legs of iron is Roman Empire and the Holy Roman Empire, all the way down to the toes. So, as we know from the scriptures, and we'll talk about it again, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of that which follows. So, at the end of this Gentile rule here, because that's what this statue represents, at the end of this Gentile rule, the final empire being Rome, then Jacob takes over. Now, if we were to use our common sense, and as I said in the past, common ain't always common. If Rome is the final empire of the Gentile nations, these iron legs all the way down to the toes that are mixed with iron and clay. If Rome goes all the way down from the thighs, all the way down to the feet, to the toes, and the Bible tells us that Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of that which follow. Who's Esau? Come on, come on. I'm just saying, just we don't have to go no further, even though we're gonna go further. If according to the statute of Daniel, the final empire is Rome, the end of Gentile rule, Esau the final ruler, Esau the end of the world, what nation, what system is in control? I'm just asking. Come on, tell me who before I go on. Common sense now. Roman. Thank you, Coco G. Is Roman. That's logic 101. If Esau the end of the world, which is the world system or the world order, because understand that Esau represents the current world order. Esau represents the current world order, and it is seen symbolically at the end of the age as that world order which is ruling. While Jacob symbolizes the beginning of a new era. So if Esau is the current world order and Esau is the end of the world order, and Jacob is the beginning of the new system or world order, then the one who is in control in these last days from the thighs all the way down to the toes has to be Rome, right? I'm just saying. Oh yeah, I've been shadow banned forever. Oh yeah, if you didn't know, we've been shadow banned forever. You see how we just stick at like 50,000 right there on subscribers? Oh yeah, we get desubbed as well. Just like when they demonetized us for no reason at all. But we continue as long as the Most High says. So if Rome is the last world system, then Rome is Esau, right? Yes or no? Give me a one. If you agree that if Rome is the last world order according to the statute of Daniel, and the scripture says Esau is the end of the world, I mean, then Rome is the final ruling power. Simple as can be, seems to me. Now, some people got a problem with this because the people in power right now don't look like us. They don't look like our twins. They don't look like Negroes. But just as we were the hidden ones, Esau has hidden himself amongst the nations. Now, this is from Wikipedia. It says, in Jewish folklore, the Roman Emperor Titus was a descendant of Esau. That's what they say. They call it Jewish folklore. Now, whether or not you call it the Ish people folklore or was it our ancestors, I don't know. But according to them, Titus was an Edomite. Let me read this to you right quick down here in the book of Jubilees. Esau's father Isaac compels Esau to swear not to attack or kill Jacob after Isaac has died. However, after the death of Isaac, the sons of Esau convinced their father to lead them and hired mercenaries against Jacob in order to kill Jacob and his family and seize their wealth, especially the portion of Isaac's wealth that Isaac had left to Jacob upon his death. Then Yaakov bent his bow and sent forth the arrow and struck Esau, his father, on his right breast and slew him. Jubilees 38:2. Yaakov buried his brother on the hill which is in Aduram, and he returned to his house. Now, in some other texts, they say, I believe it was it Dan? I think they say it killed him. But anyway, point being, Esau had it out for us. Now, let's go look at some of the Jewish mysticism text. You ain't got to rely on this. I'm just trying to make a point. Rome and Edom, a typological shift. In the Roman period, Edom and Esau come to represent Rome. While many factors led to this identification, one major factor was the position of Herod, who was appointed by Rome as the king of Judea and who was from a family of Edomite, Idumean converts, right? Converts. What? Converts. What? Converts to Judaism. He and his descendants were hated by many Judeans, and their acting as Roman proxies helped solidify the Edom equal Rome equation. The rabbis were heirs to the disdain for Herod, and the Midrash and Talmud take the equation of Edom and Rome for granted, living in the time after the destruction of the temple and the quashing of Bar Kokhba uprising. Rome, in the guise of Edom, was despised. Now, some people still gonna have cognitive dissonance because, they still think that Esau has to be black. Now, like I said, I believe some Edomites still have some melanin, but the majority of the Edomites today in power, let's put it that way, don't. And you have to look at the ones who are able to influence us. Now, there is a book, and I shared it at Tail Ministries, and it is called The Roman Empire, the Empire of the Edomites by William Beeston. And it says right here, the Romans came from Esau, who is Edom, and Italy is the Idumea. Rome, the Basra of the Hebrew prophets. Now, granted, this is this guy's opinion, but here's the thing. If you look at the text, the scriptures, and search for Idumea, it's only listed a few times. And when you read those scriptures, it doesn't tell you where the location of Idumea is. They tell us when you read text by, the people in power. They tell you it's near the Negev. Now, if you read about the area that Esau lived in, and it had mountains and hills and stuff, but that Middle East don't have that. But my point is that I'm trying to make is that just as I don't believe that that land you all call Israel is our land, it's the true land of Israel, I don't believe Idumea is there as well. Neither am I sure that Petra is. Now, some people say Petra belonged to the Edomites. Maybe, maybe not. I'm going to tell you, though, when I first read this, that Rome came from Esau, who is Edom. Now, I was leaning to that already. But that Italy is the Idumea, Rome, the Basra, which is the city of the Edomites, of the Hebrew prophets, I was a little like, okay, well, I could roll with that. Because when you start putting the pieces together, it starts to make sense. Who enslaved us, family? The Christians and the Muslims. Now, there's prophecies concerning Esau. And these prophecies seem to align with Rome. And as I read earlier, we saw that Herod was an Edomite. And Herod, as we know, worked for Rome. See, some of y'all just moving too fast for me now. I'm gonna get there. But let's go to Jasher 61. All right. So it says, and it came to pass at the time Pharaoh, king of Egypt, commanded all his people to make for him a strong palace in Egypt. And he also commanded the sons of Jacob to assist the Egyptians in building, and the Egyptians made a beautiful and elegant palace for a royal habitation. And he dwelt therein, and he renewed his government, and he reigned securely. Now, before I continue, I want to make this statement. Some people are going to tell you, oh, don't read the book of Jasher, or oh, don't read Jubilees, oh, don't read that, oh, don't read this. Look, let the Most High guide you. Let the Holy Spirit guide you on what to read. You make the decision. Don't let people keep you from text. You see whether or not them texts ring with your spirit. You also see if those texts align with history. You also see if those texts align with what we call canon, period. I just had to say that before I continue. And Zebulon, the son of Jacob, died in that year, that is the 72nd year of the going down of the Israelites to Egypt. And Zebulon died 114 years old and was put into a coffin and given into the hands of his children. And in the 75th year died his brother Simeon. He was 120 years old at his death. And he was also put into a coffin and given into the hands of his children. And Zepho, the son of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, captain of the host of Aegeus, king of Dinhabah, was still daily enticing Angeas to prepare for battle, to fight with the sons of Jacob in Egypt. Now, who's trying to fight with Jacob again? Esau. And Angeas was unwilling to do this thing, for his servants had related to him all the might of the sons of Jacob, what they had done unto them in their battle with the children of Esau. And Zepho was in those days daily enticing Angeas to fight with the sons of Jacob in those days. So we saw in Psalms 83, who's the head of the conspiracy? Edomites. Edom. Same old, ain't nothing new. It's the same today. Don't get it twisted. Ain't nothing changed but the names. Verse 7. And after some time, Angeas hearkened or listened to the words of Zepho and consented to him to fight with the sons of Jacob in Egypt. And Angeas got all his people in order, a people numerous as the sand which is upon the seashore. And he formed his resolution to go to Egypt to battle. And amongst the servants of Angeas was a youth 15 years old, Balaam, the son of Beor, was his name, and the youth was very wise and understood the art of witchcraft. And Angeas said unto Balaam, conjure for us, I pray thee, with the witchcraft, that we may know who will prevail in this battle to which we are now proceeding. And Balaam ordered that they should bring him wax, and he made thereof the likeness of chariots and horsemen representing the army of Angeas and the army of Egypt, and he put them in the cunningly prepared waters that he had for that purpose. And he took in his hand the boughs of myrtle trees, and he exercised his cunning, and he joined them over the water, and there appeared unto him in the water the resembling images of the host Angeas, falling before the resembling images of the Egyptians and the sons of Jacob. And Balaam told this thing to Angeas, and Angeas despaired and did not arm himself to go down to Egypt to battle, and he remained in his city. And when Zepho the son of Eliphaz saw that Angeas despaired of going forth to battle with the Egyptians, Zepho fled from Angeas from Africa. So Zepho left what? Africa, and he went and came to Chittim. Can we say wrong? So y'all know that there's a little strait right there over there by Morocco that goes straight to Spain, that goes to the continent of Europe. So he went and came into Chittim. And all of Chittim, the Romans, received him with great honor. And they hired him to fight their battles all the days. And Zepho became exceedingly rich in those days, and the troops of the king of Africa still spread themselves in those days, and the children of Chittim assembled and went to Mount Cuptizia on account of the troops of Angeas, king of Africa, who were advancing upon them. And it was one day that Zepho lost a young heifer, and he went to seek it, and he heard it lowing round about the mountain. And Zepho went, and he saw, and behold, there was a large cave at the bottom of the mountain, and there was a great stone there at the entrance of the cave. And Zepho split the stone, and he came into the cave, and he looked, and behold, a large animal was devouring the ox. From the middle upward, it resembled a man, and from the middle downward, it resembled an animal. And Zepho rose up against the animal and slew it with his sword. And the inhabitants of Chittim heard of this thing, and he rejoiced exceedingly. And they said, what shall we do unto this man who has slain this animal that devoured our cattle? And they all assembled to consecrate one day in the year to him, and they called the name thereof Zepho, after his name. And they brought unto him drink offerings year after year on that day, and they brought unto him gifts. And at that time, Janiah, the daughter of Uzu, wife of King Aegeus, became ill, and her illness was heavily felt by Angeas and his officers. And Angeas said unto his wise men, what shall I do to Janiah, and how shall I heal her from her illness? And his wise men said unto him, because the air of our country is not like the air of the land of Chittim, and our water is not like their water. Therefore, from this has the queen become ill. For through the change of air and water she became ill, and also because in her country she drank only the water which came from Perma, which her ancestors had brought up with bridges. And Angeas commanded his servants, and they brought unto him in vessels of water of Perma, belonging to Chittim. So they got water from Chittim, Rome. And they weighed those waters with all the waters of the land of Africa, and they found those waters lighter than the waters of Africa. And Angeas saw this thing, and he commanded all his officers to assemble the hewers of stone in thousands and tens of thousands. And they hewed stone without number, and the builders came, and they built an exceedingly strong bridge, and they conveyed the spring water from the land of Chittim unto Africa. And those waters were for Janiah the queen, and for all her concerns, to drink from, and to bake, wash, and bathe therewith, also to water therewith all seeds from which food can be obtained, and all fruit of the ground. And the king commanded that they should bring of the soil of Chittim in large ships. They also brought stones to build therewith, and the builders built palaces for Janiah the queen, and the queen became healed of the illness. And at the revolution of the year, the troops of Africa continued coming to the land of Chittim to plunder as usual. And Zepho, son of Eliphaz, heard their report, and he gave orders concerning them, and he fought with them, and they fled before him, and he delivered the land of Chittim from them. And the children of Chittim saw the valor of Zepho, and the children of Chittim resolved, and they made Zepho king over them, and he became king over them. And whilst he reigned, they went to subdue the children of Tubal and all surrounding islands. Now, think of this for a second. So Zepho is in Rome. We know where Rome is, or Chittim. Tubal is supposedly near this area because Zepho went to make war against Tubal, and Tubal is surrounded by islands. Now, according to some of the Christian scholars, they say Tubal is over there by Russia, Meshach Tubal. But according to Jasher, Tubal seems to be near Rome, near the Mediterranean islands. Okay. And their king Zepho went at their head, and they made war with Tubal and the islands, and they subdued them. And when they returned from the battle, they renewed their government for him, and they built for him a very large palace for his royal habitation and seat, and they made a large throne for him. And Zepho reigned over the whole land of Chittim. Can we say Rome? And over the land of Italia 50 years. Can we say Italy? All right, so back to where we were. The Romans came from Esau, who is Edom, and Italy is the Idumea, Rome the Basra of the Hebrew prophets. Zepho just happened to become king according to Jasher. Over Rome, over Italy. Now, there's more connection to Italy. I'm not finished. But do you ignore these coincidences? So, as we said, just so you can see it, this is the Apocrypha Second Esdras. For Esau is the end of the age, and Jacob is the beginning of that which follows. All right, so that's our formula. Esau is the end of the age, and Jacob is the beginning of that which follows. So Rome controls the world. The Western nations control the world. America, who's a descendant of Britain, controls the New World Order. America sits upon many nations. America controls many nations. America is a descendant of Western powers. Western powers were descendants of nations like Germany and France, or the Franks, that were part of the Roman Empire. America has a Congress and a Senate, which is similar to the Roman Empire. The whore that rides the beast, the whore that controls this world beast, that formed from the alliance that was created by the Psalm 83 conspirators. I'm making the case, or trying to make the case, that the Psalm 83 conspirators are still united. This is why you see that the quote unquote Muslims going along with the New World Order, and the Christians going along with the New World Order, and you got those three Abrahamic religious buildings that are created in Dubai: Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. Why? Because these are the heads of the conspiracy: Edom, Ishmael, and the rest we listed. Now, the prophecies seem to point to this being the case, that the ones that we're dealing with, the ones who control us and who said that we are what? To be perpetual slaves. The ones who signed and told the Western nations, go conquer the Saracens and the heathen and the Jews and make them slaves, and they're supposed to be perpetual slaves. And notice, the only ones they took were Bantu. The only ones they took were Bantus, not the Mexicans, not the Native American Indians. The only ones they took were Bantus. Why? Because Esau don't want us to rule. So Rome, under the popes, created the Dum Diversas. So everywhere we went, we ran. We went to Brazil. They came there, made us slaves. We ran. We went to the Americas. They chased us. They made us slaves. We ran to some parts of islands. They went there. They took us and made us slaves. Then the ones who were still on the continent, they decided to split those lands up and what? Make us slaves and take our land and our resources and our goods. Now, as I said, according to Jasher, Tubal was surrounded by islands. Now, these are the islands that are near Rome, because remember, Zepho was the king of Chittim. He was king over Italy. It's possible, highly probable, in my opinion, people are going to disagree, that Italy is Idumea. There's no proof otherwise than what some of the scholars have erroneously told us is Idumea. Just as some of the scholars erroneously tell us that that land in the Middle East is our land. But there's a conspiracy of the Psalm 83 people. And this conspiracy continues to align and focus on Rome and seems to align with the prophetic narrative. It also seems to align with the historical narrative. So we know that Zepho kept trying to start some mess. And he was an Edomite. And Christianity is the daughter of Rome. Now, when we look at some of the historical things that's going on, and we see that, these people have, hidden the knowledge of who we are, hidden the knowledge of who they are, it becomes interesting to see that, hey, we haven't learned the lesson. Never trust what they tell us. We have to dig and dig and dig and dig and dig for the truth and get pieces of the truth. And we have to build our foundation from that. Now, let's look at this, right? Because maybe some of y'all are going to think this is coincidental, but I don't. And some of y'all, I'm sure, probably saw it if y'all go to tailministries.com. But this is from PubMed. It says the origin of Eastern European Jews revealed by autosomal sex chromosomal and mtDNA polymorphisms. This study aims to establish the likely origin of Eastern European Jews by genetic distance analysis of autosomal markers and haplogroups on the X and Y chromosomes and mtDNA. Results: according to the autosomal polymorphism, the investigated Jewish populations do not share a common origin, and the EEJ are closer to Italians. Did we not say Zepho was the king over Rome? He was over Italia, right? But what did that has to do with the Jews? I'm trying to show you something, because I believe that they are Romans. Now, are they Khazarians? Yes, they're Khazarians, but they obviously, according to this DNA, have a connection to Italy. So EEJ are closer to Italians in particular and to Europeans in general than to other Jewish populations. The similarity of EEJ to Italians and Europeans is also supported by the X chromosomal haplogroups. In contrast, according to the Y chromosomal haplogroups, EEJ are closer to the non-Jewish populations of the Eastern Mediterranean. mtDNA shows a mixed pattern, but overall, EEJ are more distant from most populations and hold a marginal rather than a central position. The autosomal genetic distance matrix has a very high correlation with geography, whereas the X chromosomal, Y chromosomal, and mtDNA matrices have a lower correlation, respectively. Conclusions: the close genetic resemblance to Italians accords with the historical presumption that Ashkenazi Jews started their migrations across Europe in Italy, and with historical evidence that conversion to Judaism was common. What? Conversions to Judaism was common in ancient Rome. The reasons for the discrepancy between the biparental markers and the uniparental markers are discussed. So they're saying right there that the Jews have a strong connection to the Italian DNA, and that they came and left from Italy and spread out all over Europe. That's what it said. I didn't say it. That's what it said. So we got to understand that, there's these genetic markers or genetic similarities between the Eastern European Jews and the Italians aligned with historical records suggest that Ashkenazi Jews began moving across Europe from Italy, and that many people in ancient Rome converted to Judaism. Okay? I didn't make this up. They said it. Now, like I said, you got to take the pieces and put the pieces together. Align it up with Zepho and his influence in Europe. You got to line it up, with what the Bible says about Esau and what Esau will do. And we ain't finished yet. But a lot of converts from Rome to Judaism. Now, y'all know about Onkelos, right? Onkelos, possibly identical to Aquila of Sinope, was a Roman national who converted to Judaism in Tanakh times. He's considered to be the author of the Targum Onkelos. Now, Onkelos was a Roman national, and this is where most of the Ashkenaz come from. They said themselves. Onkelos is their ancestor. They said themselves. I'm not making it up. Now, it just so happens there was a conspiracy against the true Israelites to move them far away from their lands. Can we say scattered like seeds amongst the planet? Can we say scattered to the four corners as what? Slaves? Can we now bring back the conspiracy all the way back to Psalms 83 that Edom was the head of this conspiracy, along with the Muslims, Ishmael? And the two main ones that scattered us across the world were the Christians and the Muslims, right? Yes or no? Give me one. The two main groups that scattered us across the world as slaves is the Christians and the Muslims. Now, I don't know about you, but I didn't got past the whole black-white thing when it comes to what Esau was. I know for a fact that people that look like me ain't running nothing. That people that look like me are the ones being persecuted and deleted. Now, Esau is the end of the world or this current world order. So who runs this world order? It's the Western powers. It's the descendants of Rome. The same ones who enslaved us, the colonizers, the Roman Catholic Church, Esau. Now, let's go look at the prophecies, right? Because you can't understand the players. You can't understand the players without a menu or a guidebook. Just as you couldn't understand who Israel was without the prophecies, the curses. Obadiah. This is what Yahuwah says about Edom. We've heard a message from Yahuwah. An envoy was sent to the nations to say, rise, Let us go up against her for battle. See, I will make you small among the nations. You will be utterly despised. The pride of your heart has deceived you, you who live in the clefts of the rocks and make your home on the heights. You who say to yourself, who can bring me down to the ground, though you soar like the eagle, and make your nest among the stars? From there I will bring you down, declares Yahuwah. If thieves came to you, if robbers in the night, oh, what a disaster awaits you. Would they not steal only as much as they wanted? If grape pickers came to you, would they not leave a few grapes? But how Esau would be ransacked, his hidden treasures pillaged. All your allies will force you to the border. Your friends will deceive and overpower you. Those who eat your bread will set a trap for you, but you will not detect it. Now, remember, we see in the book of Revelation that the 10 horns shall hate the whore and burn her with fire. The whore's alliance or allies will betray her. Now, we see this same description here of Esau, but how Esau will be ransacked. Is that not what's going to happen to Babylon? His hidden treasures pillaged. All your allies will force you to the border. Your friends will deceive and overpower you. Those who eat your bread will set a trap for you, but you will not detect it. Now, when we look at this, we say, well, okay, well, how can it be Babylon, Jacoby? You just said that they're from Italy, they're from Rome, they're Chittim, right? I believe that's where Rome started. And I believe that all of these Western nations, including America, is part of Rome. Now, whether or not you want to look at it from the viewpoint of Rome and Esau being a metaphor, and that Rome is still a power structure and it's a metaphor for Esau, like America is a metaphor for Babylon, I'm good with that too. In that day declares Yahuwah, will I not destroy the wise men of Edom, those of understanding in the mountains of Esau? Your warriors, Teman, will be terrified, and everyone in Esau's mountains will be cut down in the slaughter because of the violence against your brother Jacob. Now, we see also that, in 2nd Ezra 15, the Most High says, look, I got to get my people out. He said, as they do this day to my chosen, I'm going to do to you, right? I'm just saying, when you start looking at all this stuff, it starts to come together and make sense. I don't know about you. Because of the violence against your brother Jacob, you will be covered with shame. You will be destroyed forever on the day you stood aloof, while strangers carried off his wealth and foreigners entered his gates and cast lots for Jerusalem. You were like one of them. So Esau stole our wealth, just as the foreigners who entered in Jerusalem stole our wealth. You should not gloat over your brother in the day of his misfortune, nor rejoice over the people of Judah in the day of their destruction, nor boast so much in the day of their trouble. You should not march through the gates of my people in the day of their disaster, nor gloat over them in their calamity in the day of their disaster, nor seize their wealth. In the day of their disaster, you should not wait for the crossroads to cut down their fugitives, nor hand over their survivors in the day of their trouble. The day of the Lord is a day of wrath, which is God's judgment and vengeance against the nations. The day of the Lord is near for what? All nations. But we're talking about Edom. See, it's that Psalm 83 alliance. As you have done, it will be done to you. Your deeds will return upon your own head, just as you drank on my holy hill, so all the nations will drink continually. They will drink and be as they had never been, but on Mount Zion will be deliverance. It will be holy, and Jacob will possess his inheritance. Why? Because they've been trying to take our inheritance, our land, our gold, our silver, our resources. Who been doing that? The colonizers. Jacob will be a fire and Joseph a flame. Esau will be a stubble, and they will set him on fire and destroy him. There will be no survivors from Esau. Yahuwah has spoken. Now here they say Negev. They do this a lot in some of these translations. It's usually desert or wilderness. You can't just say Negev. People from the desert will occupy the mountains of Esau, and the people from the foothills will possess the land of the Philistines. They will occupy the fields of Ephraim and Samaria, and Benjamin will possess Gilead. This company of Israelite exiles who are in Canaan will possess the land as far as Zarephath. The exiles from Jerusalem who are in Sepharad will possess the towns of the desert or wilderness. Deliverers will go up on Mount Zion to govern the mountains of Esau, and the kingdom will be Yahuwah's. Psalm 137, verse 7. Remember Yahuwah, what the Edomites did on the day of Jerusalem. Fell. So the day Jerusalem fell, the Edomites said, tear it down. They cried, tear it down to its foundation. Now we know Herod was king over Jerusalem. We know Herod was a proxy for the Romans. We know that the Romans conquered Jerusalem in 70 AD. Who are the ones saying tear it down? It's Edom, who's associated with Rome once again. Jeremiah 49, 7-22. This is what Yahuwah says. Is there no longer wisdom in Teman? Has counsel perished from the prudent? Has their wisdom decayed? Turn and flee, hide in deep caves, you who live in Dedan. For I will bring disaster on Esau at the time when I punish him. If grape pickers came to you, would they not leave a few grapes? If thieves came during the night, would they not steal only as much as they wanted? But I will strip Esau bare. I will uncover his hiding places so that he cannot conceal himself. See, Esau been hiding. His armed men are destroyed, also his allies and neighbors, so there's no one to say, leave your fatherless children, I will keep them alive. Your widows too can depend on me. This is what Yahuwah says. If those who do not deserve to drink the cup must drink it, why should you go unpunished? You will not go unpunished, but you must drink it. I swear by myself, declares Yahuwah, that Basra will become a ruin and a curse, an object of horror and reproach, and all its towns will be ruins forever. Now, you all know we Israel. If we Israel, who been doing this to us? I'm just asking. Was it palm-colored folks or people with melanin or black folks or Negroes or Africans? Definitely the Arabs as well, though. But we're talking about Edom. I've heard a message from Yahuwah, an envoy was sent to the nations to say, assemble yourselves to attack it. Rise up for battle. Now, doesn't that sound familiar? That there would be a banner raised from the Lord? And he says, go to war. What does Job chapter 3 say? He's going to fight against the nations. Now I will make you small among the nations, despised by mankind, and terror you inspire, and the pride of your heart has deceived you, you who live in the class of the rocks. Now we read this, right? So we see that here that the Most High is at war with the nations. Now let's go to Ezekiel 35, verse 10. Because you have said these two nations and countries will be ours, and we will take possession of them, even though I, Yahuwah, was there. Therefore, as surely as I live, declares Yahuwah, I will treat you in accordance with the anger and jealousy you showed in your hatred of them, and I will make myself known among them when I judge you. Now, apparently, Esau says, we're going to take your land. These two nations and countries will be ours. We're taking it for ourselves. I'm just asking, who went in there and took Judah and Samaria? Who went and took our land? It was the Romans, right? Who took our land? Who took it? But we talking about Edom. Who took our land and occupied it during the time of Christ, during the time of the Messiah? It was the Romans. But we talking about Edom. Who controls the world today? Who sent us into captivity? It's the Romans. I have a little headache, so pardon me. Amos 1:11, for 3 sins of Edom, even for 4, I will not relent, because he pursued his brother with a sword and slaughtered the woman of the land, because his anger raged continually and his fury flamed unchecked. Now, a lot of people like to talk about this going way back. But who pursued us? When we went to Brazil, they pursued us. When we went to America, they pursued us. When we went to the islands, they pursued us. Wherever we go, they pursued us. Who was it? It was the Catholic Church. It was Rome. It was the Roman Catholic Empire. It was the quote unquote Holy Roman Empire. But here it says Edom pursued his brother with a sword and slaughtered him. Who did that? In reality, if we go and look at the history, who do we find fulfilling these things? We know we Israel. Who did this to us? Roman Catholic Church. He got to be Edom. Got to be Esau. Israel doubts God's love. I've loved you, says Yahuwah, but you ask, how have you loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, declares Yahuwah, yet I have loved Jacob, but Esau I've hated, and I have turned his hill country into a wasteland and left his inheritance to the desert jackals. Now, we know that the rulership of Esau isn't over, because the rulership of Rome is still in power, is still in place, according to the statute of Daniel. But the Most High hates Esau. Why? Because of what he did to his brother. Well, what did Esau do to his brother? He conquered his lands. He took his land. He took his wealth. He pursued him and killed him. Okay, family, who kicked you out your land? Who pursued you and killed you? Who sent you into captivity worldwide? I'm just asking. So we got to understand that the Edomites and the Romans were known for their expansionist policies. Both of them tried to expand their kingdoms. The Edomites were often in conflict with their neighbors, including the Israelites. The Romans similarly expanded their empire through military conquest and aggression. And notice that we still have this relationship between Edom and Ishmael and their allies against Israel. And all of these are the same nations that just so happens to put us into captivity. Is it a coincidence? The Edomites, during the destruction of the first temple, said to have acted against the Israelites. In a similar vein, the Romans were responsible for the destruction of the second temple in 70 AD. Herod the Great was an Idumean, an Edomite descendant. He was made king of Judea by the Romans. This could be seen symbolic continuation, at minimum, a symbolic continuation of the Edomite dominance, now under the power of Rome. So whether or not you believe the Romans, the Roman Catholic Church, or whatever, the palm-colored folks, the Europeans, or true Edomites, which I think there's a relationship there genetically as well as symbolically. But metaphorically, you still have to admit that these descriptions of Rome attacking his brother, attacking Israel, is tied to Edom, tied to Esau. Whether or not you believe that the Roman Empire is physically, genetically tied to Edomites, symbolically, they are. Now, some people believe that Petra was Edomite territory. It could be because they have Roman architecture. The Edomites, descendants of Esau, had a long history of conflicts with Israel. And that animosity, as we saw, Esau wanted to kill Jacob. Now, supposedly they made up, but then later on, if you listen to some of the Jewish text, they say, look, let's go get him. Daddy didn't die, so we could go take the wealth from our cousin Israel. But historically, we know who conquered Israel. We know about the Romans. We know about what they've done to Jerusalem. Now, finally, one final commonality between Edom and Rome. Edom was a pagan kingdom. Rome was a pagan kingdom. Herod worked for Rome and he was an Edomite. Zepho was the king of Rome, of Italia. William Beeston says that Idumea is Italy and Rome is Basra. Now, whether or not you believe that, that's your business. The Bible says that Esau got in the way of his brother's escape from Jerusalem when it was being attacked. Daniel states that there's these Gentile empires that rule and persecuted Israel, and the final kingdom is Rome, but yet Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of that which follows. If Esau is the end of the world and Esau is the final kingdom, and we're living in the last days. For Yeshua said, when you begin to see these things come to pass, look up and lift up your head, for your redemption draweth nigh. If that's the case, and we're living in those days, then the final ruling empire, which obviously is Rome, obviously the ones who put us into captivity is Rome, obviously the ones who decided to move us far away from our land is Rome, obviously the ones who wanted to take our land and our resources is the colonizers, which is Rome, which means it's Esau. So let's move beyond the simple research of Jacob was black and Esau was black. So how can a white man be Esau? Obviously, from the prophecies, he is Esau. Rome is Esau. You can't make nothing else work. Makes sense to me. So as you see these nations forming their new world order, their world governmental system, you have to understand that it's your fault, Israel. You woke up. I told y'all, as soon as you woke up, all hell broke loose. 2019, told you before it happened. all hell will break loose is because of us. Don't get it twisted. Everything is about us. Everything is about our land. Everything is about our rulership. Everything is about our blessings. You will be the head, not the tail. The Most High said, I created the world for your sake. The Most High said, if you do this, if you obey my commands, you shall eat the fruit of the land and you will rule over your enemies. It's about y'all. You think they don't know this? They been knew who we were. They knew we were Hebrews or Ebos or Hebos. The creation of this satanic Luciferic order is to lock us down so we can't get the rulership. We can't get the reins because all of the nations have come together to oppose us. And some of our silly leaders on the African continent going along with it. Can we say Ruto? Why is the leadership of the New World Order either Caucasian or Arab? Because it's the same ones, the same two main leaders, Edom and Ishmael, the Romans and the Arabs, the Christians and the Muslims, who keeping us out of our inheritance, keeping us out of our land, and keeping us out of our position of authority and rulership. For you shall be kings and priests. That's the good news. See, some of y'all don't know what the good news is. Yes, the good news is salvation by grace through faith in Yeshua. But the good news is also Isaiah 61. Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? Lord, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? Let me rephrase that for you. Lord, will you at the time allow Israel to be kings and priests and rule over the nations of the world? It's not given for you to know. It's at the Father's will. I was watching Woody Meyer, and he was in Brazil. And I saw our people, they're not middle class. They're not part of the elite system. They can't rise up, right? Because the system is against them. But yet Brazil is like what, 80 something percent Negro. But they're ruled by Caucasians. That's by design. Because we're going to move them far away from their land. We're going to keep them oppressed always. And they will be perpetual slaves. Peace and blessings, Israel. Your captivity is ending. Love you with the love of the Messiah. If you like what we do, you can support us by becoming a patron and giving Cash App. And also, you can go to giftgivingforall.com, get your shirts, your mugs. But I'm going to tell you this. There's a lot of things happening in the world today. A lot of movers, a lot of shakers, a lot of judgment, a lot of plagues. And they worried about the people in the Middle East and Gaza, which, I feel for the people in Gaza. But I'm going to tell you this. Ain't nobody really caring about the people in the Congo. They're not really caring about you all when you're shot in the streets. And I'm not saying we got to do like they do. I'm just saying Israel first. That's all I'm saying. Israel first. Because I'm going to tell you this. Everything you see happening, all of the ships in the Middle East, all of the tanks, all of the planes, all of the new weaponries is because of us. Don't get it twisted. This is to lock down the world again, just like they did over the last 3 years. To put us in 15-minute cities and to control us. It's about to keep us slaves. It's about keeping us perpetual slaves. It's about you, Israel. Don't get it twisted. If you like what we do, support us, share the video, give us a like, and support the Dry Bones Project.